Okay, guys, welcome back. Episode 6 coming up. Thanks for hanging out because the last one was a disaster. Episode 5, I believe I have resolved the problem that plagued me in episode 5, which was my capture method during the window capture, within the window capture properties of OBS for the specific recording I was making of the Lightroom.exe program was set to automatic, because there is two different options. There is one for Windows 7 and older, and one for Windows 7 and newer, and one for Windows 10 and newer. I'm using Windows 10, so that immediately resolved my problem. And here we go. We reap the rewards now. So I stated in the last video that I received from myself a 100 to 400 Olympus lens, and I brought it for a walk this evening, not having used an IS lens before. I didn't do a whole lot of research. Obviously I was just excited to use it, and what I did figure out is that my camera has not been updated firmware wise to really take full advantage of the Olympus lens. So given all that, here are the 35 photos that I came back with. Some of them are a little sloppy, some of them are a little terrible, some of them are of a helicopter, which was nice, and some of them are of a squirrel who did not want to silhouette himself against the skyline for me at all. So, short video, just my editing process in case anyone is interested. So, let's have a look at the 35 photos first. 1. New York skyline taken from Astoria. Colours didn't show up incredibly well as they were. It was a beautiful sunset. Hopefully that'll become a little more evident later. This one, the sun flare, is beautiful, but I can't see a lot spectacular about it. That's the moon, as I'm sure you're aware. Was much sharper to the eye. I couldn't really get that any clearer. That is also the moon. I zoomed in further and it became quite crisp actually. This one even more so, but this one nice with the buildings in it. I wonder, I might come back to one of these and see how much detail we can bring out of that. So I'll put you both at a 5. See who gets sharper. That is the Empire State Building. This is unpleasant to look at. I wish the MetLife sign wasn't there, but that's no major takeaway. We can get rid of that if we want. Same slightly further out, slightly more upright, much further out. I saw this guy coming. That's what happened. Look at how crisp this bird is, all the way from Manhattan. That's got to be 2/3 of a mile away. Anyway, all of these photos are taken handheld, by the way, which is quite astounding for a very amateur photographer who does not have much of the technique, you might say, for getting a good stable handheld shot. This guy felt like posing. Nice and dark. Look at the detail here. Very dark, so they brightened him up for the next photo. And the following one, you can see the ruffling feathers. This one, we zoom a little back. Oops. Does this button do it? No, it doesn't. I have to do it manually. Okay, so this one I think we'll have a quick look at. This one will be the nicest, only for the roughness of his feathers. So we'll go back and edit him. Oop. Nope. Couldn't resist taking a photo of a news helicopter as it passed overhead. Not great, that one. As it got a little closer, upped my cut my shutter speed even finer. So this was somewhere in the region of a 2,000 of a second shot. Handheld by me. That is pretty astounding. Sadly though, not much I can edit out of that. There's nothing spectacular about that. This one I really like. Come back to him. It's a little less so quite nice, but that is a busier one. Aha, you. and the rest don't lend themselves. I've already cropped that one. Why have I cropped that one? No, develop, reset. Aha. So not much. Couldn't get the moon to focus at all, but in those branches, and this little squirrel was having none of me this evening. You can barely see him. I thought I might be lucky with him silhouetting himself from there. If he could have, stood up on top of this with his little tail up in the air, might have been a decent shot, but no joy. So, which of these shall we try to? Come on. Which of these shall we try to edit? That one. That one. Just out of curiosity, darken you, contrast higher, bring up the highlights, and down up the shadows. Whites, ooh, too much whites. I think it's a safe assumption that this is going to be nauseating to listen to, but this is my thinking process out loud, funny, fuzzy and misdirected and scrappy as it is. I don't feel like I'm going to get much more detail into this guy than I already have. Sharpen him a little more than usual, small radius and finer details. Not great. Handheld, no complaints at all, but on balance, it's just not really a great photo, is it? If we copy you and paste all my edits to you, oh god, it's not interesting at all, is it? How do my presets this one. Okay, moving on because that's a waste of time. We'll reset you, we'll leave you be. Move to you. So, I always start with exposure. I remember thinking if you use control... No, that was a different program. My bad. Less contrasty this time. Brighter, highlights up, shadows also up. I assume professional editors, photographers with a lot more experience than me can do this a whole lot faster and a whole lot more logistically. My technique is somewhat, what is the word, non-existent, I suppose, at the moment. But you, being where we want the detail, I'm going to drop the contrast a bit more. These are not. Ooh, easy tiger. What is happening? And the lights up. Okay. I'm not sure what these do, so I might leave those alone. Underwhelming. Hues and saturations, also not much to do with this photo. Everything is very grey. Where am I? No, I'm going to struggle with this one. Moving on. These two. This one. Come on. Zoom out for me. There you go. Or don't. That's also fine, I guess. Okay, so let's put those side by side. My laptop is struggling. It's not having a great time. Which of these shall we edit? Now these I do know lend themselves to an edit because I edited one already. Edited, I should say. And it came out beautifully, if I do say so myself. Right. Which one? I like this one more. So let's go back to you. First things first, we're trying to take away some of that sloppy, blurry water in the foreground and a little, in the background I should say, and a little, not as much in the foreground because at least that's in focus. It's probably a lot closer to directly underneath the birds, the geese I should say, than it appears here, so that can stay. Temps and tones, like you get very warm very fast, don't you? Go there, and don't need you at all. So Control Z. My best friend in the world is the undo button. Always has been and always will be. Contrast. Slide this one, I think, slightly sharp. Highs up or downs, down. Shadows. Decisions. Do we want them totally black silhouetted, or do we want them in detail with the whites back up? Ooh, this is something I glossed over completely on my previous visit. We'll go for, we'll keep them in focus this time, we'll stick to that. But, no, I won't, because if I do my familiar little S-curve, or some version of it, their white little tails are going to be a little bit, no, so we'll put those total black silhouettes, we'll run our exposure back up a little bit, contrast, we'll get our darkness from somewhere else. Yes. That to me looks nicer. Not by much, but you can't have it all, can you? Clarities and textures. How does our water look? Can't have it too sharp, it'll take away from our foreground. We can't have it too blurry because that looks like a style in its own right, and we don't want that either. I don't like what I just did there. But moving on. Still haven't quite got to grips with how vibrance differs from saturation. In this case, the saturation is giving me a lovely depth to the oranges there. The oranges in the background. Our tone, I think. No, I'll undo you. And we'll keep that as it is. Hues and saturations now. And luminances. So we want our oranges and blues, but before we do that, I'm going to strengthen these blues a bit, and they seem to me to be in the, are they shadows or midtones? Doesn't seem to be telling me. I'm going to go with shadows. So we'll reset you. Want you to be bluer, a little bit darker, a little bit bluer again. Highlights, I'm going to accent that orangeness if I can. Very clear and bright. That's not quite the look I want. Maybe you're a little too much. Blues back down. I don't know how long this video is. It's going to go on for quite a long time if I'm not careful. So you get... I'm sure there is a very structured, rigorous set of lessons that you can take to understand editing and the difference and all the, like, what this balance does and what these guys do. I very obviously didn't do it, probably won't, but by fiddling with each of them enough times and enough different kinds of photos, I feel like I'll get as far as I want for my own purposes, and that'll have to do. So, do we want blues up? No comment. Aquas, also no comment. Oranges, you are going to make yourself known. Yes. Saturation, we can bring the oranges in a little, and I think we can bring the blues here. Otherwise, might. How does that look? What do we think? Still not entirely thrilled that I can see the white tail feathers on a lot of these guys, so with a little bit. And could I possibly darken this lower end a little bit, not that much, maybe that much, just to really make sure that the birds look like the center of the photo. You could do this with a vignette also, but that's much more corner focused and it's not quite the look I want. So, no, you're a little bit too heavy. Voila, finito. Short, quick edit. I don't think off the top of my head there's much I can do to improve this guy now. The blues and the oranges, oh, I do like the matte, I'll be quite honest, but it takes away too much of the saturation for me. Vivid doesn't match my colors at all in there. Turquoise and red does that. Ooh, I am not very far off of that one at all. Food for thought. Okay, maybe, just maybe, we could add a little grain to this photo. Where is my... in a kind of a vintage, blurry... Ooh, do I like that? Do we like that? Or do we prefer it crisp? I think we prefer it crisp. Okay, scratch that. We'll have a little bit. I like that. I really do. And on that bombshell, folks, thanks for joining me. Yeah, that's all. I'm glad I figured out that little error that stopped me earlier. I hope the laptop fans spinning in the background here don't drown me out too much. And that's all for today.